It says a group of 11th graders wanted to estimate the population proportion of students in their high school who drank at least one soda per day. Each student selected a different random sample of 30 students and calculated the proportion that drank at least one soda per day. The dot plot below shows the sampling distribution. This distribution has a mean of 51 hundredths and a standard deviation of 9 hundredths. Now, what this means is these students did not want to go and find the entire population of their high school, right? They don't want to do that. So what they're doing is they're pulling a random number of 30 students. Sample size is 30 students, and they're choosing, or they're asking them, hey, have you drank more than one Coke a day? One soda, one pop drink, whatever y'all call it. What do y'all call sodas here? Cokes. Ciders. Okay. All right, so this says describe the distribution. How would you describe this distribution? Well, first thing you need to do is draw a smooth curve here. Okay, how would you describe that distribution? Anybody? How do we describe distributions? Either skewed or symmetrical, right? Here, I would call this probably symmetrical. Maybe slightly skewed. Which way would this be slightly skewed? Left. Which way are you going to slide? You're going to climb up the hill and slide down this way. So it's skewed left. Okay? Now, page 2 says, what is your estimate of the proportion of all students who would report that they drink at least one soda per day? So, if I said, all right, now, based off of your samples, what would you estimate for all the students in the school that drink at least one soda per day? What would you say? What value are you going to be looking at? The mean, right? That'd be your typical number. That would be the best way to estimate it. So they said it was about 0.51, right? So that would be your best guess. You would take the mean of the samples, and that would be your estimate if you wanted to be accurate. Okay? Now, number 3 says, if instead of taking a random sample of 30 students in the high school, the 11th graders randomly selected samples of size 60. Describe what will happen to the standard deviation of the sampling distribution of the sample proportions. Okay? So, instead of doing 30 students, we're going to pull 60 students each time. So, what's going to happen to the standard deviation? This is the one thing y'all are going to have to get in your heads right now. Okay? Because you're going to hear this over and over and over and over again through this lesson or through this module. Listen. As the sample size increases, variation decreases. Okay? You understand that? So from going from 30 to 60, sample size increases, variability decreases. Now, standard deviation is a way that we measure variation. So as the sample size goes up, what happens to the standard deviation? It goes down. It decreases. It's getting less varied. Okay? So we're going to call standard deviation is going to decrease. Okay. Now, another way that you're going to hear that talked about is with margin of error. As you get more sample sizes, as the sample sizes increase, the margin of error goes down. Okay? And if you'll think about that, if you have 100 students in this school, okay, and we want to guess how far each student lives from the school. We want to know the average kilometer for each student. Okay? Well, if we only pull 20 students out of the 100, are we going to have we can make an estimate as to the whole population, right? By taking their average. Right? We take the 20 students, we take their average kilometers, and we would say that the average student for our ICSU lives blah, blah, blah kilometers away. And that would be an estimate, right? But if I took 40 students or 60 students, and if I took 80 students, would I not be getting a more accurate average? Of course, because the closer I get to the 100 students, that's going to be 100% accurate. That will be the exact average away from school that all students live. So the closer you get to the population size, or as your sample size increases, you're going to have a more accurate answer. So your variability will drop.